What happens when Hollywood's sweetheart steps onto a daytime talk show, suddenly to find herself face-to-face with television's most controversial host, and the conversation spirals so badly it ends in a shocking walk-off no one saw coming. What you're about to witness is one of the most explosive moments in live television history. Make sure to subscribe and drop a comment below, because this story will leave you absolutely speechless. The morning began like any other at The View Studios in New York. Sandra Bullock arrived early for what was supposed to be a light-hearted promotional interview for her latest film. In the green room, she sipped her coffee, calmly reviewing talking points with her publicist, completely unaware she was about to become part of television lore. As the cameras rolled, Whoopi Goldberg welcomed her warmly. "Sandra, we're so excited to have you here. Your new movie sounds incredible. Tell us about it." Sandra smiled, her effortless charm instantly filling the studio. "Thank you for having me, Whoopi. This film has been such a passion project. It's about second chances, about how we can reinvent ourselves, even when life throws the most unexpected curveballs." "That sounds beautiful," Sarah N. chimed in. "What drew you to this story?" Sandra's voice carried genuine emotion. "I think we all experience moments where we feel like we've hit rock bottom. This character reminded me that it's never too late to change your path, to choose kindness over bitterness, to build bridges instead of burning them." The conversation flowed effortlessly. The audience was visibly captivated by Sandra's sincerity, but Joy Behar had been unusually quiet. Her eyes narrowed as she listened, something in Sandra's words clearly rubbing her the wrong way, though viewers couldn't yet understand why. Finally, Joy leaned in. "Speaking of building bridges," she said, her tone edged with something sharper, "I have to ask about your recent comments on the entertainment industry. Some people might say you're being a little naive about how Hollywood really works." Sandra's smile faltered just for a moment. "I'm not sure what you mean, Joy. Could you be more specific?" "Oh, come on," Joy pressed, a smirk forming that never reached her eyes. "This whole everyone can change narrative. It's very sweet, very idealistic. But don't you think some people are just fundamentally selfish? Some people never change because they don't want to." The studio went silent. Whoopi shifted uncomfortably, sensing this was no longer about the movie. The audience felt it too, the warmth in the room, replaced by a charged, uneasy electricity. "I believe in the capacity for growth," Sandra replied carefully, maintaining her composure. "When people are given the chance to reflect and learn from their mistakes, most choose to do better." "Most," Joy repeated with a bitter laugh. "But not all. Some people double down on their worst instincts. They hide behind success and play the victim when they're the ones causing the damage." Now everyone at the table was staring at Joy. This wasn't typically then for The View's famously confrontational style. Something personal was driving this, and Sandra was clearly trying to understand what she had walked into. Whoopi tried to step in. "Maybe we should steer back to Sandra's upcoming projects." "No," Joy cut her off. "This matters. Sandra talks about redemption, about second chances, but what about accountability? What about the people who get hurt while someone is finding themselves?" Sandra's publicist waved frantically from offstage. Sandra didn't flinch. "I absolutely believe in accountability," she said firmly. "But I also believe that holding on to anger ultimately hurts us more than it helps. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing bad behavior. It means choosing not to let it define who we become." "Convenient," Joy snapped. "Easy to say when you've got the perfect career and the perfect life. Some of us live with the real consequences of other people's choices." The tension was now suffocating. Camera operators hesitated. The audience sat frozen, watching what felt less like an interview and more like a deeply personal reckoning unfolding live on air. "Joy," Sandra said calmly, her voice now edged with steel, I don't know what this is really about. But if you have something specific to say, maybe we should discuss it privately rather than turning this platform into an attack on someone who came here in good faith. Good faith. Joy scoffed. That's rich. Let's talk about how people smile to your face while stabbing you in the back. How some careers are built on stepping on others and then preaching kindness and redemption once they've mated. The other hosts exchanged alarmed glances. This had gone far beyond a heated exchange, and everyone in the room knew this interview was no longer under control. Joy was no longer asking questions. She was unloading something deeply personal. And Sandra Bullock had become an unwitting target for what felt like years of bottled-up resentment. Sandra drew a slow, steady breath, fighting to maintain her professionalism as Joy's behavior grew more erratic. Joy, I came here to talk about my film and connect with your audience, Sandra said evenly. I don't know what personal struggles you're dealing with, but this isn't the place to work them out. Personal struggles. Joy shot back, her voice cracking with indignation. You want to talk about personal? Let's talk about your so-called humanitarian work. Let's talk about how you turn charity events into photo ops while some of us are actually trying to make a difference. The accusation hung in the air like poison. Sunny Hostin's mouth fell open. Alyssa Farah Griffin stared at Joy as if she were seeing her for the first time. That's completely out of line. Sandra replied, her composure finally beginning to fracture. My charitable work is something I take seriously, and I won't have my motives questioned without a shred of evidence. Evidence. Joy laughed harshly. I've been in this business for decades, sweetheart. I know how the game is played. You show up to a few galas, write a check for the tax write-off, and suddenly you're Mother Teresa. Sandra's voice dropped, cold and controlled. What exactly are you implying, Joy? It means people like you, Joy snapped. People who think they're above everyone else. You float in, preach forgiveness and second chances like you're some kind of guru, while the rest of us are down here fighting in the trenches. Where was that forgiveness when people needed it from you? The studio fell into total silence, broken only by the low hum of cameras and distant street noise below. No one moved. No one spoke. Production assistants waved frantically toward the control room. But no one seemed to know how to stop the unraveling. I honestly don't know what you're talking about, Sandra said slowly, each word deliberate. But you owe me either an explanation or an apology for these baseless accusations. Apologize. Joy's voice rose to nearly a shout. You want me to apologize? That's exactly the entitlement I'm talking about. You come on my show, sit at my table, and expect everyone to smile and nod while you sell your little feel-good redemption movie. It's not your show. Joy. Whoopi finally cut in, her voice firm and authoritative. Sandra is our guest, and you need to dial this back now. But Joy was beyond reason. Something inside her had snapped, and years of resentment came rushing out all at once. Don't tell me what to do, Whoopi. I've been carrying this show for years while everyone else gets the credit. I ask the hard questions. I call out hypocrisy when I see it. What hypocrisy? Sandra fired back, her own anger now unmistakable. Say it plainly. Stop hiding behind vague insults. What are you accusing me of? Joy shot to her feet, her chair scraping loudly across the floor. The sudden movement drew a collective gasp from the audience. You want clarity. Fine, here it is. Her fingers stabbed the air in Sandra's direction. I'm tired of watching people like you get praised for doing the bare minimum, while people like me get vilified for telling the truth. I'm tired of the fake kindness, the manufactured sweetness that masks how cutthroat this industry still is. Joy, please, Sarah N. whispered. Sit down. No, Joy said flatly, never taking her eyes off Sandra. I'm done pretending. I'm done smiling while people who don't deserve it get crowned as saints. You want to talk about your movie? Let's talk about how many people you probably stepped on to get that role. Let's talk about how you've benefited from a system that rewards looking the right way and saying the right things. The room held its breath, and everyone watching, both in the studio and at home, knew this confrontation was racing toward a point of no return. Sandra rose from her chair, her patience finally spent. I don't know what your problem is, Joy, but I won't sit here and let you attack my character based on whatever personal demons you're wrestling with, she said, her voice steady but unyielding. This is completely unprofessional and, frankly, embarrassing for everyone involved. Embarrassing? Joy echoed, her voice dripping with sarcasm. That's rich, coming from someone who built an entire career playing the girl next door while probably being anything but once the cameras were off. Accusation was so personal and so utterly unfounded that the studio seemed to freeze. For a split second, even Joy appeared to realize she had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. But instead of retreating, she lunged forward emotionally, her face flushed with anger and something closer to desperation. You want to know the real problem? Joy continued, her voice beginning to shake. People like you coast through life, praised for your supposed goodness, while people like me get labeled difficult for telling the truth. Well, I'm done being the villain just because I refuse to live inside a fantasy. Nobody asked you to be anything other than professional, Sandra replied, her anger controlled but unmistakable. What you're doing right now isn't truth-telling. It's cruelty disguised as honesty. The words hit Joy like a physical blow. Her face twisted with rage, and for a terrifying moment, it looked as though she might actually lunge across the table. Security shifted at the edges of the set, suddenly alert. Cruelty disguised as honesty. Joy shot back, her voice trembling with fury. You want cruelty? Cruelty is watching people get ahead in this business not because of talent, but because they know how to play the game. Cruelty is watching fake humility get rewarded while real voices are punished. Sandra shook her head slowly, disbelief etched across her face. Joy, you don't even know me. You're attacking a stranger based on assumptions and projecting your anger onto someone who doesn't deserve it. That's not authenticity. It's just sad. The word sad shattered something in Joy. Her face drained of color, then flushed a deep red. Her hands began to shake. Sad? She repeated, her voice barely under control. I've been in this business since before you were even relevant. I earned my place through decades of hard work, not by playing some sweet, lovable character audiences fall for. Nobody's questioning your place here. Whoopi tried again, her voice firm but calm. Yes, they are. Joy shouted, spinning toward her co-hosts. Everyone does. Every review, every headline, every stupid post online. I'm always the one who's too harsh, too difficult, too much. Well, maybe I am too much for this sanitized version of television where we all pretend everything is fine. Sandra watched her, no longer angry, just deeply concerned. Joy. This isn't about television or the industry, she said quietly. This sounds like something much deeper than what's happening here today. Don't psychoanalyze me, Joy snapped, whirling back. You don't get to sit there in your perfect little bubble and tell me what my problems are. You don't know what it's like to fight for every opportunity to claw your way up in a world that wants you to shut up and smile. Actually, I do, Sandra replied softly. Every woman in this industry does. But taking your frustration out on other women isn't fighting the system. It's perpetuating it. For a fleeting moment, Joy's fury wavered, replaced by something dangerously close to recognition. But the vulnerability vanished just as quickly, swallowed by rage. "You think you're so wise?" Joy sneered. "You think staying popular makes you enlightened? Let me tell you something about relevance in this business. Sometimes it means being the villain. Sometimes it means saying what everyone else is too afraid to say. And sometimes Sandra cut in with devastating calm. It just means being needlessly cruel to people who don't deserve it." That was the final straw. Joy's face contorted with pure rage as she tore the microphone pack from her waist. Yanking it free so violently, the wire snapped. The studio erupted in gasps, and everyone knew there was no coming back from this. "You know what? I'm done." Joy's voice cut through the studio like a blade. "I'm done with this show. I'm done pretending to care about the opinions of people who wouldn't last 5 minutes in the real world. And I'm especially done being lectured by someone whose biggest challenge is deciding which charity gala to attend." The studio erupted into chaos. Producers shouted into headsets, scrambling to decide whether to cut to commercial. The audience gasped and murmured, unsure whether they were witnessing television history or a total meltdown. The other hosts sat frozen as Joy barreled forward. "I quit," Joy declared, her voice carrying across the set. "I'm done being this show's lightning rod while everyone else plays it safe. I'm done being the villain just because I'm willing to ask the questions no one else will." "Joy, please." Sunny Hostin finally found her voice. "Just sit down. Let's talk this through. You're having a moment? We can fix this." "A moment?" Joy laughed bitterly. "This isn't a moment. This is years of frustration finally spilling out. I've watched this industry reward mediocrity and punish honesty for decades. I'm done pretending that's acceptable." Sandra stood slowly, her dignity intact despite the storm raging around her. "Joy, I genuinely hope you get the help you need," she said calmly. "But what just happened here wasn't honesty. It was an unprovoked attack on someone who came here in good faith. That isn't brave or authentic, it's just wrong." Joy stared at her, chest heaving. For a fleeting second, something crossed her face: regret, maybe even shame. Then it vanished, replaced by defiance. "Save your sympathy," Joy snapped. "I don't need lessons from someone who thinks forgiveness fixes everything. Some things can't be forgiven, and some people don't deserve second chances." With that, she turned and stormed off the set, leaving behind her notes, her coffee mug, and more than 2 decades of television history. The cameras kept rolling. The remaining hosts sat in stunned silence. The audience didn't know whether to applaud or stay still. The air felt heavy, unreal. Sandra slowly sat back down, visibly shaken but composed. "I'm sorry your audience had to witness that," she said quietly to Whoopi. "That was clearly about something far bigger than anything I said or did today." Whoopi nodded, still processing. "Sandra, on behalf of the show, I apologize. That was completely unacceptable, and you handled it with more grace than anyone should ever be expected to." The studio remained eerily silent until producers finally cut to commercial, bringing an end to one of the most explosive moments in daytime television history. Joy Behar had walked away from The View in the most dramatic fashion imaginable, leaving behind a legacy forever altered by a single, unforgettable outburst. What did you think of this confrontation? Was Joy completely out of line? Was there a deeper truth buried beneath the anger? Subscribe for more shocking television moments, and comment below with your thoughts on what really pushed Joy to the breaking point.